The CEO stormed into the nursery for the third time that night. Another nanny quit. Her daughter was still screaming. But down the hallway, a janitor hummed softly as he swept. Moments later, the cries stopped. She peeked in. Her daughter was asleep, clutching the janitor's old worn-out keychain like a treasure. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. At precisely 2:07 a.m., the mansion echoed with a high-pitched wail. CEO Kendra Vale, 38, stormed out of her sleek, marble-covered bedroom, her silk robe sweeping behind her like a cape of fury. She was the founder of a billion-dollar tech empire. But in her own home, she was helpless. Her 3-year-old daughter, Lila, screamed with a desperation that sent chills even through the state-of-the-art baby monitors. The fourth nanny in 6 weeks had locked herself in the guest room and left a resignation note under the nursery door. Kendra's hands trembled, not from fear, but exhaustion. She didn't understand it. Why this kept happening. Why Lila never slept unless she cried herself hoarse. Why every expert she hired failed. Kendra flung open the nursery door. "Mommy's here," she whispered, but Lila only cried harder, flailing away from her. Then she heard it, faint, from the hallway. A deep male voice humming. Kendra turned. The janitor. He was young, maybe 28, Hispanic American, slim build, faded uniform, and tired eyes. She didn't even know his name. "What are you doing here?" she asked. He looked startled but calm. "Just cleaning, ma'am. I can leave." Lila's cries paused. She sniffled, then reached toward the doorway. The janitor froze. Kendra did too. Lila whimpered, pointing. "Keychain." The man slowly reached into his pocket, pulled out an old brass keychain shaped like a tiny dolphin. He didn't say anything, just handed it over gently. Kendra watched in stunned silence as Lila curled up with it, the crying stopping like a faucet turned off. By 2:10 a.m., she was asleep, and Kendra just stood there, the air thick with disbelief. Kendra couldn't sleep, not because her daughter was crying, but because for the first time in weeks, she wasn't. She stared at the nursery camera on her phone. There Lila was, peaceful, snuggled into her pillow, her small fingers wrapped around the dolphin keychain like it was a lifeline. The next morning, Kendra walked into the staff break room at 6:45 a.m. The janitor was wiping down the counter with the same quiet grace. "You." He stood straighter. "Ma'am? What's your name?" He hesitated. "Marcus. Marcus Leal. And how long have you worked here?" He looked confused. 8 months? Kendra frowned. She didn't remember ever seeing his resume. 8 months and we've never spoken? "You're busy," he said simply. "I just clean." She didn't like that answer. It sounded like a judgment. "What's with the keychain?" He gave a small smile. "It was my sister's. She passed. I keep it to feel close to her." Her breath caught, not out of sympathy, though a pang of it flickered, but because Lila never responded to anyone. Not to her, not to the therapists, but to this man with a battered keychain. She had melted. "I want you upstairs at 7:30 p.m. tonight," she said suddenly. "Nursery time. You'll sit with Lila. I'll pay you triple." He shook his head. "You don't have to pay me, ma'am. I'll do it if it helps her." That stopped her cold. No one had said anything like that in years. No, if it helps. No kindness without a contract. Kendra swallowed her pride. Fine. That evening, Lila saw Marcus walk in and practically leapt from her bed. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just opened her arms like she'd been waiting all day. Marcus sat on the floor beside her with a picture book. Kendra watched from the cracked door as her daughter listened, really listened, for the first time. When he finished the story, Lila whispered, "Can I keep it?" He handed her the keychain without hesitation. Kendra stepped in, unable to hold back. "Why do you think she likes you?" Marcus turned, his voice quiet. "Because I don't need her to perform. I just sit with her, like she's enough." Kendra blinked fast, a tightness she didn't expect rising in her chest. Because deep down, she knew. He wasn't just talking about her daughter. The next morning, the boardroom buzzed with voices and coffee cups. Kendra stood at the head of the long table, steel in her posture and fury boiling under her skin. "We're scrapping the Lisbon deal," she announced, slamming her tablet on the table. Gasps. A junior VP dropped her pen. "That deal's worth $70 million, someone began. "My daughter slept last night," Kendra snapped, "which is more than I've done in 6 weeks. If anyone has a problem with that, you're welcome to leave." Silence followed. She had always ruled like this. Blunt, ruthless, impatient with weakness. But today, something felt different. Her words still cut, but her heart was somewhere else. On the 3rd floor, in the nursery, with the janitor. Later that day, she took the long way back through the West Wing. The cleaning cart sat idle. No Marcus. She asked the security guy, "Where's the night janitor?" The man looked nervous. He was asked to leave." "What?" "Ma'am, after he went into your daughter's room, we didn't know he had permission. The head of security thought it was a breach." "Find him. Now." Kendra drove herself. In 10 years, she hadn't driven her own car once. But she did now, ripping through LA streets with the skyline behind her like a ghost. Marcus lived in South Pasadena, a single room above a closed bakery. She found him packing a duffel bag on the sidewalk, his back turned. "You were fired without my say?" she demanded. He looked up. His face was calm, but guarded now. "I'm sorry, Miss Vale. I didn't mean to cause trouble. It's better this way." "No, it's not. You don't owe me anything. I'm not doing this because I owe you," she snapped. "I'm doing this because Lila asked for you last night. She woke up sobbing and screaming, 'Dolphin.' That's never happened before." He didn't move. Kendra's voice cracked. "You're the first person my daughter has ever trusted." Still, he didn't speak. So she did something she hadn't done since college. She begged, "Please, come back." Marcus looked down at his bag, then at her luxury car parked awkwardly at the curb. He finally nodded once. "Okay," but only for her. And without realizing it, Kendra exhaled. For the first time in what felt like years, 3 nights later, it happened. The storm rolled in just past midnight. One of those rare, angry Los Angeles storms that caught everyone off guard. Thunder cracked like it was breaking the sky in half. Lightning lit up the windows of the Vale mansion like a haunted house. And then, silence. The entire estate went dark. Backup generators hummed, but the security system stalled. Elevators stuck. Automatic doors froze. Kendra bolted upright in bed, grabbing her phone. No signal. Then, Lila's scream. She was out of bed before she could even think, bolting through the blackened hallways in bare feet. But when she reached the nursery, the door was already open. Inside, Lila was curled up in Marcus's lap, sobbing softly but calmer than she should have been. He sat by the window, humming that same low tune as the storm howled behind him. "You came?" Kendra whispered, breathless. I never left, he replied. Lightning flashed. For a second, she saw them both in silhouette. Her daughter, once unreachable, finally safe in the arms of a janitor. Why didn't you leave when you were fired? Marcus looked up. Because she needs someone who doesn't quit on her. Kendra didn't speak. Her throat tightened. May I show you something? He asked. She nodded. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a notebook. Old, weathered, its pages scribbled with notes, drawings, poems. I studied child trauma in community college. Didn't finish my degree, but I've worked in shelters. I've seen that look in her eyes before. It's fear, not of people, but of being invisible. Kendra stood frozen. Invisible. That word cut deeper than anything anyone had ever said. Because for all the power she had, for all the empires she'd built, she had failed to see her own daughter, failed to stop seeing her pain as an obstacle instead of a plea. Tears welled up, but she didn't wipe them. I don't want her to feel that way again, Kendra whispered. Then don't, Marcus said simply. Be there. Not when it's convenient. Just be. She nodded. Slowly. That night, for the first time, Kendra stayed on the nursery floor, Marcus on one side, Kendra on the other, and Lila asleep between them, the storm fading into silence. The next morning, Kendra walked into the main boardroom. Same suit, same heels, same fierce gaze. But this time, her daughter walked beside her, holding her hand. And behind them, Marcus. The media was there. Cameras, flashes, dozens of investors and tech writers waiting for the quarterly announcement. Everyone expected a speech about numbers. Instead, she cleared her throat and said, I'd like to introduce the man who saved my daughter's life. Not with medicine, not with millions, but with presence, with listening, with patience. Murmurs spread. Phones clicked. This, Kendra continued, is Marcus Leal. And as of today, he's not a janitor anymore. He's the director of well-being for the entire Vail Group. Every employee, every child in our daycare program, every family we touch, will feel the ripple of his kindness. Reporters froze. Marcus looked like he might bolt. Kendra turned toward him. You didn't ask for this, but you deserve it. Because you did what none of us could. You gave my daughter something I couldn't buy. Safety. Marcus leaned down, whispered something in Lila's ear. She nodded, then held up the old dolphin keychain. The room was silent. That evening, social media erupted. Not because of a product launch, not because of a scandal, but because a billionaire CEO had stood beside a janitor, called him her hero, and meant every word. In the weeks that followed, the company transformed. Kendra spent more time at home, not because she was slowing down, but because she was finally living. Marcus worked closely with therapists and educators to create the Dolphin Rooms, quiet spaces across corporate buildings for children and employees who felt unseen, inspired by Lila, anchored by kindness. Lila began to speak in full sentences. Not often, but when she did, she smiled and always clutched that keychain. One night, long after the camera stopped rolling, Kendra sat across from Marcus on the back patio, coffee mugs in hand. You know, she said softly, everyone thought I'd end up with another billionaire. Some powerful merger. He chuckled. I'm not even sure I'm middle class. She smiled. But I've never met anyone richer in patience or soul. He looked at her, and for the first time, held her gaze longer than a moment. And in that quiet beneath the stars, a new kind of future began. Not loud, not grand, just real. Because sometimes The person holding the mop is also the one holding everything together.